Hello, Andrea Lynn, and I felt called today to share just my experience with shadow work, and it seems to be the buzzword, like this year, last year, like everybody's all about shadow work, right? And some people have different perceptions of what it is. You know, everybody's got their own concept. So for me, it's really been about looking at my own trauma. Okay, I had physical abuse, sexual abuse, of course, emotional. Like, I think everybody has that. And so there's been a point where I've really had to look deeply at where I was functioning from that with my kids. So, like, where I was projecting my own trauma onto them, not allowing them to choose things for themselves, not allowing them to have certain experiences because, I had that experience and this happened. Or, this is how you should respond to that friend who says this. Like, those are just some very few examples. But, like, going into the shadows and really looking at where even as a mom, I felt I was entitled to respect from them. And this is going to be hard for some people to hear, but your kids don't owe you respect. They really don't. They are free beings here with free will, just like you. Everyone is a sovereign being. Everyone is here by choice on their own accord. So your children do not owe you crap. And that was so difficult for me to see for a while. Because, when I grew up, if I said something that didn't agree with what my parents agreed with, it was disrespect, right? It took me so many years to figure that out. But my point in sharing this today is, as I've gone through those shadows and uncovered them, and let me tell you, it has not been pretty. Because not only do we have our own trauma, but our body carries ancestral trauma and certain energetic patterns that if we're unconscious of and not aware of, we can actually function from that without knowing. So it's been, that's what shadow work is. It's really going in and looking at all of those things that we sometimes don't want to see, including the concept of, being a victim. For a long time, I was trapped in that. Because of all the abuse that I endured, I'm this victim, poor me, why did these people do this? Of course it's wrong that people abuse other people, but in the end, I am a sovereign being here with my own free will, and I chose to come into this life. So how I process and deal with that is what I have responsibility for. I'm not responsible for fixing it for my ancestors or anyone else. That's not my part, but my part is to accept responsibility for my own and to change it and do the shadow work so that I don't keep repeating the cycles, keep repeating the patterns that have been from the past. And it's been difficult, right? This is one of my specialties actually is working in the shadows, and I really enjoy doing this with clients and I've worked with several coaches myself, because there's something different about having someone on the outside to look in. They can often see things that we can't see or that we don't want to see. That's the tricky thing. So yeah, so it's been quite a journey with that. And what's really neat is I have seen play out in my kids the changes that I have made, the way that they function, the way that they are more in their power, they are more in their sovereignty, they are more willing to speak their mind and express themselves. And like, it's just awesome to watch them step into that. It changes the whole dynamic for their life. And I'm so grateful to see that reflected. And we often don't realize, as, you know, mothers, as fathers, as parents, that when we do the inner work, the biggest payoff is to see that in our kids, because it does change it changes the trajectory of their life and their pattern, right? They're not going to continue to repeat patterns that we were raised with if we are the one that stops that. Whether it's some kind of emotional abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's spanking, you know, like, which I find abusive. And there are people that would disagree, and that's fine. I don't need anyone to agree with me, but that is abuse. When you spank and hit a child out of anger, that is abuse. And that was one of the big ones that I broke with my kids. I refused to continue doing that. There are other ways to teach them things than hitting. So yeah, that is what I wanted to just, you know, do a brief little chat about today. Is as difficult as the work can be, you're doing it for yourself. But the bigger picture is that you're doing it for your children and all the generations that come, because that affects everyone as a collective. So don't let the shadows scare you. Be willing to go in, you know, catch yourself when you react to your kids from projection, you know, projecting something at them that is a belief that you have. And like where you may stop them from fully expressing themselves, whether it's with, I don't know, dance, the way they dress, artwork, making a mess in their room. You know, God forbid a child would make a mess. I mean, just let them express themselves and let them just be who they are. Because we all had enough of that restriction growing up of being too much of something. So don't be afraid to step in and look at the shadows, because that's where the magic lies. And if you need some assistance, I'm definitely here. I'd love to just, if you want to just chat sometime, we can talk about that and what's up for you and see if I can assist you and guide you through that. All right, have an awesome day.